what would a Pokemon game look like that's, kind of the same as Yakuza? Because I've
Yeah.
never played it, but I've seen it, and I was like, but I did never watch full on gameplay. So I pulled up some gameplay and I watched it, and I think I saw exactly what you were talking about. Like it looked like Pokemon, but
Yeah.
with humans.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, this can work. This can work for Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, it felt. I don't know. They're both Japanese, right? Is it a Japanese company that makes them
Yeah,
too?
so those are
Yeah.
they're Sega published games. It's
Right.
RGG Studio.
Hmm.
But yeah, super Japanese games. This was the first one that took place in Hawaii instead of, though you can still go to Japan. So that was kind of
Gotcha.
cool.
That's
But
cool.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, listen,
Alola.
dude, if they said like, oh, we're gonna take inspiration from like the Yakuza battle system, which is this is turn-based,
Yeah.
and has a lot of similarities to Pokemon. One of the things I really like about it is that when you're controlling whoever's about to attack, you have an area in which you can move your player. And like if I attack somebody and I knock them into like a car or a wall or a trash can, that will actually do extra damage to them, and
Nice.
they'll like fall into it. It's like it's really cool and dynamic and well done. But
They
really cool game. One of my favorite games of the year.
they implemented something like that in X and Y. You had like you would occasionally in battle see like a sand pile or a tree behind you, and if you
Yeah.
use certain moves, you would like get an item bonus from like, oh, your Pokemon knocked down the berries from
Dude,
those
I
trees when it
completely
attacked the
forgot
Pokemon.
about that.
That's cool.
All
That's
I'm saying
really
is
cool.
if
They
it's like
expand on
this,
that.
if
Mhm.
it's like this, I'm so happy. Like it just
Yeah.
looks so good.
I think it will. I think it can't look. It's not gonna look like X and Y. Like I think it will
No,
look like
I
this.
I've never had that idea in my mind. Like we're talking about 3DS to Switch and
Yeah.
completely different.
And I love bringing this up too because I think something that gets overlooked sometimes is that there is kind of something happening in Japanese video games right now where these long-standing franchises are reinventing themselves and reinvigorating themselves. The Yakuza series for 20 years was an action-based game, and now it's turn-based. And that change was incredibly successful for them. It reinvigorated the franchise, best-selling entries by far. And you see something like Final Fantasy VII Remake and now Rebirth, who long-standing franchise reinvented themselves with a new combat system. You see stuff like the Persona franchise and even Zelda, reinventing themselves. And you have to wonder if on some level there is some inspiration happening. If there are, these
definitely.
games are inspiring other games. These people work in close proximity to each other. And if we are on the precipice of a Pokemon game that is influenced or inspired by Final Fantasy VII Remake or Yakuza Like a Dragon, oh my God, because those games have good ideas, dude.
Yeah.
Really good ideas.
I agree with you. I think that there is something going on. I mean, just if you just want to take it from a Zelda point of view, because so many people were like PLA was based on Breath of the Wild. So like, or like not based on, but like
There's
connect
some
it.
there's some
Yeah.
inspiration.
Yeah.
I think that that's the same kind of thing here. It's still we're still changing. And to all of those that you mentioned, like
Yeah.
Pokemon is doing it too with this. They're just not straying away from their main games doing it. You know what I mean? It's like
Sure.
let's do one that does this and then
Yeah.
stick to the old way still.
Which is smart. That's like the Nintendo way, right? Like, you see the same thing with Mario. 2D side-scroller Mario's not going away. They just are doing like Odyssey, Galaxy, all those different versions of that in addition to it.
Mhm.
And I think while we're talking about inspiration, another game I want to pull from here is the Persona series. I think famous for having a mechanic called social links. And this is something that, like, I think makes perfect sense for a Legend ZA. We go back to Pokemon X and Y. Who do you have? You have your friend group, dude. You've got these these group of kids that you're buddies with that you don't, I think they were always supposed to play a larger role than they ever really did.
Yes.
And I wonder, like, okay, how do we reinvigorate this idea of having these friends going on this journey with you, or just like being around in this new context, in this new
cool.
Legend ZA game? And I think, like, man, we already kind of had this. It's not even that much of a stretch, because what you do in the school in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is not that dissimilar from social links.
Yeah.
So already you can see the seeds of this idea, and having different friends doing different things around the city. And it's like, oh, this is my friend that is really into Rhyhorn racing.
Yeah.
And, and you go and you do the Rhyhorn racing thing with him, and that levels up some ability that you have. Just like this idea of having these kind of like totemic relationships in the game. And when you do like a quest line or a mission that involves that person, you level up not only your relationship with them, but something also in the game. I think like you could totally see something like this happen in Legends ZA.